With this presentation, I'd like to impart with you the knowledge of the universe, so that you too can know what makes you one of a kind. The universe. I am individual, you are individual, you and I are one of a kind. To begin with, let's take a look at the meaning behind these three characters, you and I. You and I is simply an abbreviation of the words you and I. I, as a pronoun, is used to refer to oneself in the first person. When used as a noun, it refers to the self, the ego being the Latin pronoun meaning I. The words I and I are terms whose meanings are tied to one another, as implied by how they both sound phonetically. The word I, as a noun, means one of a pair of facial organs used for seeing, the faculty of visual perception, or used to denote skill in perceiving, discriminating, or judging. As a verb, I means looking closely at someone or something with interest. So if the I is one of a pair, where you have one, you must have the other. If I is used to refer to oneself in the first person, then you, as a pronoun, is used to refer to someone in the second person. You can be used to address one individual or more than one individual. It is both singular and plural. You and I can be used as interchangeable terms. That which is above is equal to that which is below. I'll return to further explain the relevance of the I's later on. Now to look at what the pronouns you and I stand for. I is for individual. Whenever you refer to yourself as I, you are declaring yourself to be an individual. I is simply an abbreviation for the word individual. The qualities of being an individual is what's known as individuality, with individuality being a contraction of the term indivisible-duality. Dual meaning something or someone consisting of two parts, functions or aspects, or as to having a double nature. The duality or indivisible duality is referring to the masculine and feminine properties necessary for the life of the individual. Individual, a single distinct entity that cannot be divided. If I is an abbreviation for individual, then U is an abbreviation for unit. As U is both singular and plural, so is the word unit. Unit, a single complete person that can also be an individual component to a larger whole. Individuality, the qualities of a person that distinguishes them from others of the same kind. If U is for unit, then the qualities of being a unit is known as unity. Unity, the state or quality of being one, whether single or forming a whole from individual parts. Seeing the similarities between U for unity and I for individuality, let's look at what meaning they share when both you and I are together. You and I can be pronounced as you and I. The spelling of you and I, UNI, is the same as that for the Latin prefix pronounced uni. Uni stems from the Latin word unus, meaning one. Uni is the same prefix used to denote oneness that can be found in words such as unicycle, uniform, and unison. Therefore, the universe can be understood as being the one-verse, not only in name, but also in regard to its content. This one verse is all about the oneness that is found in individuality. You and I are both individual. You and I are one. Therefore, you and I are the same. I am individual. You are individual. Therefore, you and I are individual. You and I are one of a kind. The same indivisible duality of masculine and feminine aspects are found throughout the natural world. One of the most notable sources when it comes to sacred text or scriptures is the Holy Bible, within which there are many verses that highlight the unity of the masculine with the feminine. For instance, in the book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 6 to 9, "But from the beginning of the creation God made them, male and female. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder." The word twain means two, and they twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh. Two in one. The book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 22 to 24. "And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." The book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 28 and 33. "So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. Nevertheless, let every one of you, in particular, so love his wife even as himself. And the wife see that she reverence her husband." And the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26 to 28. "And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." The indivisible duality of masculine and feminine that perpetuates life in the world is often found accentuated through what is called sexual dimorphism. This is true between male and female human beings, but also between male and female animals of the same species. Sexual dimorphism is the difference in anatomy or physiology between sexes, beyond just their differences in sexual organs. Between the sexes, they may exhibit a larger or smaller size, different colors or shapes, have different songs or calls, or different body structures such as horns or antlers. Some species exhibit different sexual behaviors as part of their reproductive repertoire. This is where many of the sexual dimorphic characteristics come into play as a way to attract a mate and reproduce. Reproductive behaviors such as nursing, caring for young, building nests, or foraging for food can take on different forms between males and females. Now I'm going to go over some basic genetics to show how indivisible duality defines the creation of new, individual human beings. "For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and cleave to his wife." A quick disclaimer before I begin. The following information on genetics is referenced from the basic genetics section of the Hemophilia von Willebrand disease and Platelet disorders handbook. Hemophilia being the hereditary blood disorder which causes bleeding to last longer than normal. The most relevant parts from the full text on basic genetics have been highlighted or condensed down for presentation purposes. To read the full unedited text or to find more information about hemophilia from the Hemophilia of Georgia website, you can use the links provided on screen or in the video description. Cells are the tiny living building blocks of the body. Every living part of you is made up of living cells. New cells are made when old cells divide in two. Every individual begins as one cell. This cell forms when a woman's ovum or egg is fertilized by a man's sperm. This cell will grow and divide into a baby. Chromosomes are tiny rod shapes inside each cell of the body. There are 23 pairs of chromosomes, for a total of 46 chromosomes in each cell of the body. One pair of chromosomes is different in men and women. It is called the sex chromosome pair. The sex chromosome pair determines if a child will be a boy or a girl. A man's sex chromosome pair is labelled XY. A woman's sex chromosome pair is labelled XX. The only two types of cells that do not contain 46 chromosomes in total are the eggs in a woman and the sperm in a man. They only have 23 chromosomes each. When the woman's egg joins with the man's sperm, a new cell is made, which divides and grows into a baby. This first cell has 46 chromosomes, 23 from the mother and 23 from the father. Each cell of the body will contain exact copies of the 23 pairs of chromosomes that were in the first cell that was formed by the egg and sperm. The chromosomes are kept inside the cell nucleus. All the instructions for how the child will grow are in the genes on these chromosomes. Genes are the blueprints for your body. They are the instructions for building new cells. For example, they can tell what colour hair and eyes you will have. There are tens of thousands of genes arranged along the chromosomes. All of the genes are the same in each cell, and they are all arranged the same way. Here is the husband united with the wife. This unity denotes marriage between the two, but also the ability henceforth for the two to procreate together. The husband's sex chromosome pair is XY in red. The wife's sex chromosome pair is XX in blue. An egg or sperm only has half of the parent's sex chromosome pair. Sperm can have either an X chromosome or a Y chromosome. An egg will always have an X chromosome, since the woman's sex chromosome pair only has X's. If a sperm with a Y chromosome fertilizes the egg, the new cell will have an X and a Y chromosome. The X came from the mother's egg, and the Y came from the father's sperm. Since the sex chromosome that is made is XY, the cell will grow into a baby boy. If a sperm with an X chromosome fertilizes the egg, the new cell will have two X chromosomes. One came from the father's sperm, and one came from the mother's egg. Since the sex chromosome that is made is XX, the cell will grow into a baby girl. Here are all the pairings for these sex chromosomes. The male or female offspring will consist of one chromosome from each of their parents. This image illustrates the continuation of this process through each new generation. So let's say that these parents have children, 2 sons and 2 daughters. One of the daughters crosses paths with the son of parents from another family. When the female from the first family and the male from the second family both reach adulthood, the man takes the woman's hand in marriage. They then go on to have children of their own, a son and 2 daughters. They will have inherited 1 chromosome each from their father and their mother, just as the husband would have from his parents, and the wife from her parents. Each sex will consist of aspects of the other for their definition. The masculine is receptive to the feminine component, just as the feminine is receptive to the masculine component. The relationship of interdependent opposites is indivisible-duality, or IndividUality. Where you have one, you have the other. Every individual consists of these 2 parts for their individuality. This means that the individual is one of a kind, and if you and I are one of a kind, then you and I are unique. Every male and female is an individual, but every male and female is a distinct individual from one another. This duality is comprised of individual distinction and individual correlation. Distinction being a difference or contrast between similar things or people, and correlation being a mutual relationship or connection between similar things or people. Both of these aspects are valid at the same time. A real-life example of this would be individual skin color or pigmentation. The distinctive aspect is that skin color varies between individuals, from lighter to darker shades of brown. However, the correlative aspect between all individuals is that all skin color simply comprises of shades of brown. The presence of the distinctive and correlative aspects are necessary in order to satisfy the definition of individuality. This is the template for the individual. While other distinctive factors other than skin color, such as race, also play a role in varying the physical appearance of the individual, the predominant structure of individual males and females remains correlative for all. The range of differences between individuals is diverse enough so that no two individuals are ever exactly alike. Each one is as distinctive and unique as the next. But simultaneously, the differences are subtle enough so as that each individual remains identifiably similar to one another. The individual is a one-of-a-kind unique being. Therefore, the individual is an exclusive being. Individual exclusivity pertains to the exclusive relationship between masculine and feminine. Exclusivity is a trait of indivisible duality. Because of the distinctive rarity of individuality, it makes individuality by definition intrinsically invaluable. Therefore, individuality is indispensable. Individuality is an essential aspect of life, required for the existence of the individual. It is the prerequisite for life. Life begins and ends with you. Life begins individually, and life ends individually. Individuality and its necessity to the way of life is also highlighted in verses of the Bible. The book of John, chapter 1, verse 3 to 4. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Revelation chapter 22, verse 13. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And John chapter 14, verse 6. Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father, but by me. I am is the name of God written of in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 14. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. I am can be addressed as the individual, as I is an abbreviation for individual. Therefore, I am is the standard for the individual. If I am can be used to address the individual, then you are can be used to address the individual. I am in the first person, you are in the second person. The interchangeable use of you and I for the standard of the individual is referenced in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 15 to 16. But as he which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation, because it is written, Be ye holy, for I am holy. If I am refers to the way, the truth, and the life, then you are refers to the way, the truth, and the life. The indivisible duality of masculine and feminine is the way, the truth, and the life. The characteristics of the way are mentioned in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 14, because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Truth is simply that which is. It is that which is unwavering, consistent, and remains the same. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. I am that I am. You are I am. This is another example of how you and I are one of a kind. While each individual is distinct in their appearance, each individual also has their own distinct interests, abilities, strengths, endowments, talents, and gifts. While these may be in contrast with each other, the correlation between them all is that they all serve to objectively benefit the individual. To help illustrate how this dynamic works, it can be likened to how white light is dispersed through a glass prism into its component colors. When a narrow beam of white light passes through the first prism, it causes the white light to disperse into its component colors. These component colors are called the light spectrum. With the use of a glass lens or a second prism placed correctly in an inverted position, this can cause the component colors through it to appear to recombine back into white light again. The white light at the beginning is representative of the individual's initial correlative goal of seeking to provide objective value for the individual. With this goal established, the individual then spends time to discover their own distinctive interests, abilities, and talents, and how they can be implemented towards the cause. The component colors of dispersed white light displayed as the light spectrum, are representative of the range of distinctive individual pursuits. With the combined effort of the individual, they are able to fulfill their distinct pursuits, achieving the correlative goal of providing value for the individual. This is representative of the recombination of the component colors back into white light. This process is self-perpetuating, aiding the individual in continuously improving upon their potential. The individual's choice of distinctive action, as defined by its correlative value to the individual, is the correct application of free will. Free will is the ability to choose between different courses of action unimpeded. However, unimpeded does not mean that free will allows for negative actions that undermine the individual. Unimpeded simply means that the individual's choice of action that values the individual is not obstructed or hindered in any way by the individual. Free will is an attribute of the individual. Therefore, the definition of free will can only be applied by the individual for the individual. The range of individual actions is defined by their virtue to the individual. The image of interrelating upward and downward facing triangles is relevant to this image. This six-pointed star is called the hexagram. It is formed from the combination of two equilateral triangles. This symbol also represents indivisible-duality. The upwards pointing equilateral triangle represents the masculine, while the downwards pointing equilateral triangle represents the feminine. These two attributes of individuality can also be represented by two other attributes of individuality. The principle of individual will is attributed to being a predominantly masculine trait, while the principle of individual care is attributed to being a predominantly feminine trait. Together they represent the individual's will to care for the individual. Within the center of the hexagram is the shape of a hexagon. When three equally spaced lines are drawn from three of the six edges to converge at the center of the hexagon, the appearance of a three-dimensional cube is formed, having equal length, breadth, and height. To understand what significance this has in relation to individuality, we can, as indicated earlier, turn to specific verses of the Bible to discover new meaning and insight. In the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verses 15 to 18, the city of heaven is described as being in the likeness of a golden cube. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. And the city lieth foursquare, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length, and the breadth, and the height of it are equal. And he measured the wall thereof, 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the angel. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. Revelation chapter 21 verse 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. Psalm chapter 73 verse 25. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. Romans chapter 12 verse 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, and that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Matthew chapter 5 verse 48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. You will care for you. If you will care for you, then I will care for you. Now that the key attributes behind the definition of the individual being masculine and feminine, have been firmly established, let's now look over how they are represented when it comes to the I's of the individual. As stated earlier, the pronoun I is an abbreviation for the individual, but the I is also synonymous with representing the individual. The definition of the I is one of a pair of facial organs used for seeing, as each eye of the individual is defined as one of a pair. They are both essentially one of a kind. Each one shares distinction and correlation. Therefore, we could easily attribute one as representing the masculine eye and one as representing the feminine eye. For the indivisible duality of the eyes, represented by U being both plural and singular. Matthew chapter 6 verse 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. U is for unity. Unity, the state or quality of being one, whether single or forming a whole from individual parts. Here are some more specific Bible verses of relevance. Luke chapter 11 verse 34 and 36. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore when thine eye is single, thy whole body also is full of light. But when thine eye is evil, thy body also is full of darkness. If thy whole body therefore be full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of a candle doth give thee light. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 23 to 25. And be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbour, for we are members one of another. Revelation chapter 3 verse 12. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. Revelation chapter 22 verses 3 to 5. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun, for the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign for ever and ever. Revelation chapter 7 verses 2 and 3. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. U. The definition of the individual is the seal of God. John chapter 3 verse 33. He that hath received his testimony hath set to his seal that God is true. Colossians chapter 3 verses 9 to 15. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge, after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all, and in all. Put on therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Mark chapter 12, verses 30 to 31. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. Finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that ye are thereunto called, that ye should inherit a blessing. John chapter 17, verses 20 to 23. Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the glory which thou gavest me I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one, I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved them as thou hast loved me. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Uni 1. John chapter 10, verse 30. I and my Father are one. You and I are one. The same. Individual. Indivisible. Inseparable. United. Aligned. On the level. Impartial. Fair-minded. Truthful. Objective. You and I are universal. I am individual. You are individual. You and I are one of a kind. And now you know the universe. If you enjoyed my presentation, then feel free to share it with other individuals, or subscribe to see more individual-related content coming soon. For now, take care, and thank you for watching.